Hi, it's Hazel, and welcome to my channel, Hazel and Aka Design. I am going to do what I believe will end up being part 2 in my new little series called How Do I Prep Thrift Store Finds for Journal Making. Now, you can probably tell that I have my 12 by 12 paper cutter on the desk. Now it's hitting something at this end and it's extending a bit beyond the edge of my desk at the end closest to me. So I'll apologize in advance that you are not going to be able to see every single thing, but I believe you can, your mind and your eye will fill in the gaps and know what is going on. And this is far, 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 far from rocket science. So, and I also, just as I was preparing to turn on the camera, had a bit of an epiphany about this whole art practice, time management in the studio, how we start and finish projects. So I'm going to weave that into the conversation. But let's start with the real reason for the video. Okay, this was a book, fabric covered, gorgeous. I'd say it's roughly 12 by, well, maybe it's more than that. So it was a big book that I showed maybe a year or two ago. One that I had thrifted because I do seem to have a weakness for Mother Goose books and fairy tale books. So 12 and a quarter by, well, square, 12 and a quarter. And maybe I should leave my ruler out, but maybe a bit shorter one. Anyway, and so, of course, oh, happy news. Big bulletin. I did finish, I'm taping this on Sunday, June 29th. I did finish the last of the 3 baby books. I will be delivering them in a couple of days' time. And frankly, I'm pleased with how they turned out. I'm eager to put away the baby journal stuff and begin something else. So watch for that. I don't know at this point what it'll be. Anyway, so I had gutted the book, and this was a really interactive book. I don't know, to be honest. I have more book covers than I will live long enough to use up. I guess for the time being, we'll hang on to this one. I have never, used any method to cut down oversized book board. And frankly, I doubt that I would ever make a journal using, that would require bonding together 12 by 12 inch papers. So let's put this aside. Okay, this was, I should just maybe show you this. 2008, printed in China, ages 3 and up. It would have retailed, well, back in the day for $25 in Canada. Anyway, a beautiful, beautiful book. So what I started doing one day was taking apart the interactive items. So you may have already guessed that these were the blackbirds that came out of that famous pie. So that was a thing that rose up out of a particular page when you opened the book. So naturally, I would never have a reason or a project big enough to use that in the format it was at. So I just deconstructed all those birds, and I have parts of birds too, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, here's just some heads. Anyway, now these are far more ready to use. So I'll make a little pile off to the side. There was another section that had all of these tags. Now, I really didn't realize it till now, but this is sort of, it's like felt, well, I guess it is felt, that's been printed on. So are these not perfect and ready to go just as they are? They have the ribbons attached to them and they came out of pockets. So that too will obviously go into the baby book stash. Okay, what was this? I don't remember. Oh, this held something in place, almost like, not exactly like a matchbook thing. Maybe it'll come back to me what was in here as we go along. This was glued down. Now, obviously, this would have been on one of those inside covers, either front or back. Removing it was very touch and go. This center paper is very thin, so it would need to be back. But, you know, again, is that not beautiful and ready to go? All it needs is to have this strengthened a bit. Add that to the pile. Then, well, maybe I'm kind of doing this in reverse. Well, I'll just take them as they come, and I won't discuss every single thing. On any given page, there would be several either nursery rhymes, illustrations, interactive items, or whatever. Now, of course, I should also tell you that when the book was together, each of these cardstock papers had been, glued together at the edges to hold the papers together. But it was a no-brainer whatsoever to take those apart and end up with, beautiful 12 by 12 papers. So in some cases, I don't know if I have any examples here, there might be a bit of that glue residue or well, maybe sticky tape residue. I did my best to keep the illustration with the verse if I could. Now, on a page like this, obviously there was something over here. I think this baby was maybe above it. So I always try to, I don't know if that was together. I always try to salvage as many working parts or as many pieces as I possibly can. Like these are just, well, I'll show you the more interactive parts. These are essentially just potential belly bands or journal cards. All the pages looked like this, sort of aged and tattered. Now, see, that's what I mean. I lost a lot of that when I trimmed off this part. Now, if that part doesn't matter to me, then, I end up saving some of that. Let me throw those aside. So you can see there are all sorts of little verses that either we know or don't know. This is gigantic, so when the time comes, a person might just cut around the pat of cake or cut this illustration off. And I didn't want to make every single decision again. I was cutting around. No, I guess not, because that border doesn't match. But I was cutting around things in a way that made the most sense today. So this would have been up here. Again, doesn't really matter. So you can see I've got potential journaling cards for umpteen more books. And sometimes it was, something had to be sacrificed. So Mary and her lamb, I'm not sure, they might be someplace else, or maybe they had to be sacrificed. I'm, again, just still pulling out the cards. Now, of course, on a page, this gives you an example. Love that little floral border. There's the cow jumping over the moon, the dish running away with the spoon, this kid crying. However, how could a person reasonably do this and not lose some element of it? So for the time being, I just kept it intact. Now, I suppose it could potentially be a centerfold on a journal, and that way all of it would still be usable. So there were cases like that. Oh, here's another bird. More cards. Okay, then, well, talk about this one. This is the house that Jack built. This whole thing is the verse. So at this moment, I'm leaving this intact because, you know, with this, well, it's too wide and I can't cut much more off. Whoops. Can't cut much more off. Well, oh, I guess I left it at 11 inches. So actually, this could be the centerfold on a tall skinny. Oh, no. Sorry, that's wrong. 11 is the height. Okay, this is 12, but, you know, maybe a person could cheat a bit, top and bottom. Typically, the width is only 8.5. But, you know, maybe a person. Anyway, all I'm saying is I'm keeping it intact. Sorry, I'm just trying to restack this stuff so I don't lose too many pieces. At this point, I stopped. It was getting late. I had been at this for a long time already, and the issue here is this pocket. Little Miss Muffet. Now, little Bo Peep. There she is. There the verses. There the sheep are. So, if I were to try to cut this, unless I fussy cut around this sheep, I would be losing some of this effect here with these three verses, just the way it's laid out. So, for now, this is staying intact as well. I did leave a few pages to do with you, but again, I don't know, is that necessary? You probably know. But let me show you the other pages that I've kept and why. This also all belongs together, and there's another one of those pockets, the crooked sixpence. Now this is beautiful on its own, and maybe what a person has to do is forget about this pocket, cover it up. This is narrower than 8.5 inches. It's only 7.5. So this could be folded for a tall skinny. Now, with this cardstock weight, obviously, and that might be the thing to do, trim it top and bottom, fold some of these pages, and, you know, it will obviously become pretty bulky pretty quickly. And this is the lightweight paper pocket, backing for this kind of a slit pocket. Actually, why don't we all take a moment and make a note to ourselves? Why can't we do this at any time with our own cardstock? Put in a fake back. I'm going to have to remember to do that. Oh, let me put this back in there for the time being. Okay, so there was one of these. So that's being held there. Then here's a wee Willy Winky. Nice deep pocket, nice alphabet thing in this nice deep pocket. But again, how do I use this? So chances are, you know, this becomes a separate piece. Let's see what the dimensions would be. If we forgot that pocket bit there, that's still 9 inches, over 9 inches. So something would have to go here. So a person could either cut this out and use it as a, well, pretty big journaling card, and then have the verse maybe on the other side of it or something. Again, this huge you know, pocket type thing at the back. So again, because it was late and I didn't want to do anything rash, I just put some of these more problematic pieces aside. A cat came a-fiddling. Now, I suppose, and what do we have here? My dear little blossoms. So this I won't bother doing it though, I don't think. Or I could, I suppose, just for the heck of it. I'm going to cut this off right below that cat's tail. So that becomes a journaling card. There's a bit of the pocket there. And then this still can be the way it was intended. And a purse, okay, how wide is this? This is nearly 7 inches, so a person could cheat a bit or maybe fold back part of this and hinge it in a journal, but for now I'm leaving it as is. Then we have something like this that I salvaged off a page. Oh, it's just like a concertina. So that part, yeah, that part is glued down and this just opens up. So obviously some of these things are very clever devices on their own. And actually, as I'm saying that to you, it makes me think that I should, with using my own stuff, and even in another theme, make some prototypes of these. Because honestly, I can put all this stuff away with the baby things and never look at it again, you know, for a year, 6 months, whatever, and the idea will be completely gone. So I'll do that. Now these, I think there are 3 of them, are just a card, and it's essentially just a little door that shows something behind it. So there's Humpty Dumpty, there's Humpty Dumpty verse. Rockabye, you know, hushabye. So those are really cute. Then there are 2 of these. So I just, you know, trimmed around it to make it more manageable. But there are these little doors. And inside is a longer verse, shorter verse that matches whatever the picture is on the outside. So Little Boy Blue. I had a little husband. Oh, I didn't know that. And whatever these are. And then, of course, this 3 little kittens thing. Let's just measure this and see. So the 3 little kittens. Okay, so that's the logical thing here, I guess, would be to cut this off here and end up with 4 journaling cards. Or, well, not journaling cards, just, you know, ephemera to put into a pocket, because illustrated and the verse is right there. The 3 little kittens becomes its own thing. I'm not going to take the time to do that right now because I have more to show you. And then, of course, same scenario here. Okay. Then, oh, I guess just 2 of these. So again, same thing. I cut so it was like this. I just cut it in half so that that floral border would be at the top. And 2 journaling cards, you know, round the corners, add a ribbon, add an eyelet or whatever, and it is good to go. And then this. Look at this fancy dancy thing. Now, I didn't know how much these coils should actually open up. I feel like I want to, but I think that they're just scored in places, so I don't think they're actually supposed to come apart much more than that. But if you look inside there, you see that little yellow bird. And there was a little verse about this. But of course, this is pretty big. It could be trimmed on that side, but not by very much. So even if it were trimmed, it's still basically 6 3/4 by 7. So that's a fairly big thing. So I don't know, like if this is something that, I honestly don't know how this would be used. Maybe as the top of, like part of a journal topper or something. Oh, that was the back of something. I guess this was the front for your library. I don't know, maybe this just has to be separated and get 2 cards out of it and call it a day. Anyway, okay, let's see what I left uncut, just so I'd have something more to show you. So again, it's one of those things. This, I probably cut that off to get, oh, I did cut this page in half. So, you know, maybe the dog gets fussy cut by himself. Maybe some of that gets salvaged. And maybe that, you know, just gets squared off, minus that corner. Here's another one of those pages with a pocket and a little verse inside. How does Simple Simon stay with his verse? I don't know. Now this one, if I were squaring this off, I would, well, I guess I should maybe do some of these things instead of just talking about them. I had to do some creative cutting, to be honest, so that I didn't accidentally cut something I didn't intend to. So what I will do, and I hope you can see, or can, maybe my description is helping you walk through it. I'm just going to cut this kind of beyond where the last bit of verse ends, so kind of lined up with that horizontal line, so that when I do that, I don't end up cutting any or much of him off. And I only want to go up to about that other blue line, because I don't want to get carried away, forget myself, and then cut this tag up. So push that back, move over here, and keep this as square as possible. And I am going to be able to save most of the man and not cut any of the words off. Oh, if you watched a recent video where I was talking about how I cracked, well, I'll show you that at the end. I did end up having to repair this thing yet one more time. Sorry if you can't see this, but all I'm doing is cutting the, oops, my cutter is at the wrong end. I need it to be at this end. All I ended up putting a little toothpick splint in place. Okay, so this I will, you know, just sort of cut the top off. See, I don't know if I'm smart or if I'm silly. I feel compelled to cut that off, but yet, why don't I just leave it? I could add an eyelet there. I could run a bit of lace or something along the top. I could add something. So look at me just saving the day right there. Now, this, I can feel that the end of this thing, this card, is about where this G begins. So, the balloon, what's the news of the day? Good neighbor, I pray, they say the balloon has gone up. Okay, I don't know what that is. I don't care what that is. I'm going to salvage this card. I'm going to continue this cut, you know, so I will be going into that bottom verse. Now I can, well, I've got a slit here, and oh, I could salvage, oh, you know what, I could probably salvage some of this. So let me cut this blue bit off. Now, in order to use this as a slit pocket, well, let me cut off that gluey bit. And let's be aware of the width of this now too. So how much have we got there? Roughly 1/2 inch. So take a little more off. Now, so we've got this with this slit. Now the only thing that has to happen is this has to be glued shut. And then of course that gets covered, and voila. And now I have this. So I will begin by getting this as short as I can. I will have to amputate that boy's arm, but of course we will disguise that with something strategic. I'll cut as much off the bottom as I can as well. And what are we left with? It's nearly 6 inches. Oh, see, I have a slit into his arm. And that's the problem when you're trying to do those cuts that only go part of the way. A little bit of that pocket here, but there's no point in trying to save that because it's a pocket going nowhere. And it just adds a complication. So I'm going to leave this as is. Now, more than likely what would happen is I would end up fussy cutting around this. Oh, and how tall is it? Oh, it's nearly 10 inches tall. So this, again, would have to go into a tall skinny. I don't know. I guess I've never done it, but I suppose a person could very artfully and hopefully smoothly just sort of cut in a curvy line. That might be something. Then he could become a belly. Okay, why don't we just do that? So I'm just going to eyeball this. I want to make it kind of a gentle curve. And the beauty of that is that looks like a bit of a point there. You can see where I kind of changed course. I mean, that's crazy to worry about that little speck there. But yet I do. So this could easily be, well, in a tall skinny, this could be how wide is this now? At the widest point, it's 3 3/4 inches. So that would be, I think I need to try to trim this a hair more. So I'm just barely going to clear those last, or those first letters in each row. So this could be a tuck spot in a tall skinny. This, with a little straightening out here, could be, well, okay, why don't I just do that? I'm going to cut along this line. So this too could be a, you know, it could, I don't know if it's maybe a little too irregular to be a belly band, but it could be a tuck spot for sure. I've done these kinds of things before. Kind of hard to see where that is, especially with all these lights on. Okay. So that's not so bad. Okay, how would it be? How tall would it be? Okay, why don't I just trim this right below his feet? Get rid of the verse that we didn't want anyway. And that will give me about, okay, at that point, it would be exactly 8 inches. So maybe we'll take it just a hair down. So I think that's pretty good. And this, maybe I should just quickly, bickly, add a piece of tape so that this stays intact and doesn't get missed and forgotten at a future point. Okay, that worked out well. Okay, what have we got here? Similar thing. Now, if I were to cut these off here, it would not make sense anymore because this is all one thing. Expecting leap year, that's the time when February's days are 29. 30 days has September, April, June, November. Okay, I use that verse even now to figure out what is what. So here we will trim this, and we will trim, now unfortunately, this top verse is longer than the one at the bottom, so there will still be part of that frame there. We will trim, I'm going to trim along that line, even though it probably will not stay intact. Okay, I can shorten that one. I will not be able to shorten this one. But now these pieces are essentially ready to use. Let me just trim this guy a little bit. Now they may be, let's just see, what have we got here for length? Oh, they are pretty long. So again, looks like I might have a tall skinny in my future. So what do we have here? Old woman, Robin Hood, little Tom Tucker. 2 birds. There were 2 birds sat upon a stone. One flew away, and then there was one. The other flew after, and then there was none. So the poor stone was left all alone. One of these little birds back again flew. The other came after, and then there were 2. Says one to the other, "Pray, how do you do?" "Very well, thank you." "And pray, how are you?" Okay, I can lose that very easily. So let's just separate this. I mean, I don't have to do anything with it. It can just remain the back part of this Robin Hood thing. Okay. Then let's do, and you know, some of these things that are nice that don't have glue bits on them, I am saving those too, because, you know, what else would a hoarder do? I don't like to call myself a hoarder. I'm just a person who sees the prospects. Okay, so this is good. I won't cut this in half because then I would cut that in half. Here's another piece that is not going to be saved. And then this I will cut, I guess just at the edge of the green. I need to cut this little fold off. So actually I should have, I'll have to go back to that other side. And honestly, you know, this, you can spend, like if you're watching, you know, Netflix or something, and line yourself up with some of this work, I'm telling you, you can watch 2 movies and you'll get a lot done, but it does take time. Let's just say that. Okay, what else have we got here? Oh, I grabbed 2 by accident. Little Jack Horner. So first thing we'll do is separate this bit here. I guess I'll go over a smidge just so that we don't cut that holly up. And this is the gluey side. So I'll probably just leave a smidge of that green border. Very much a smidge. And for now, I'll leave this intact. Even though it's tall. Okay, we will do the, and that's not a cut edge, so I better use this guide. I'm not going to bother trying to save that. Goodness knows, I've saved so many pieces already that I'll leave the top intact for the same reason I mentioned before. And maybe with this, I'll just cut some of that gluey bit off. We know who that is with that plum on his thumb. Okay, so that page is done. Oh, we only have 2 more. Yay! Oh, this is going to be a different one. Okay, primrose. Primrose, pretty lass. Okay, so that must belong to that. I saw a ship a-sailing. Jackie, come give me your fiddle. Okay, what I'm going to do is first of all cut this in, well, it's not half, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Oh, I don't like having, I'll use this guide at this other end because that's straighter. So with this, I can, whoops, salvage this boy. I will cut off the gluey bit and, well, I'll take more off, even though I like that sort of, you know, distressed area there. This is still 4.5 inches, almost 4 3/4 inches wide, so it becomes quite a big thing. It's a good one. A wise old owl. A wise old owl sat in an oak. The more he heard, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why aren't we all like that wise old bird? So in other words, listen more, talk less. Okay, this is over 6 inches. Not to say that it couldn't be, you know, just tucked into a pocket as is. Or, no, I'm going to have to take that down. What I think I'll do is cut around the blue part. Maybe I'll line myself up with that one fine blue line there. It will end up being a rectangle, and I will not have had to do any figuring, which at a time like this is important to save time and brain cells. And then no one will ever know that it was bigger and at an angle. Okay, now what have we here? I saw a ship a-sailing. I can cut that off without losing. I can get past that little decorative thing there without losing any of the other part. I will even this out so it looks like we had a plan here. I'll leave it as it, whoops, oh yeah. I'll leave it as is in case I want to add something at the bottom. And then what have we here? I'm just going to cut off that quote or whatever it is at the bottom. I will straighten this right side out. Get rid of that curvature. And this will have to be still rough here, but will have to be as it is. It's 7.5, but for the time being, that's how I'll leave it. And then this is the last, well, there's this too. Okay, a walnut as soft as silk, as white as milk, as bitter as gall, a strong wall, and a green coat covers me all. When the snow is on the ground. A walnut. I would never use that, I don't think. I might have to, I'm just going to sort of rough cut this a bit because it'll be easier than trying to do it on this big machine without, you know, cutting further than I should. Okay. Same thing here. I'll just line it up with that red. I guess I could use the thicker line this time. And probably be okay. Let's do this one. Do this one. Now, obviously, to use this, a person would have to make up for that missing corner somehow. We will do this green thing and then see what I can salvage of those snowflakes. Although, honestly, snowflakes on a green ground paper does not, oh, that's not very good. It's so hard to see, but maybe I can see it better on this side. This little guide is making a shadow, and on this side, the greens are so, you know what, I'll just use the little thing at the corners as my guide and not bother with trying to see where that tiny gradation in color is. Okay. Oh, that wasn't as good. Okay. We'll square this off and it becomes some kind of phony baloney green snowflakes. Yay! Yay for green snowflakes. Oh, we have to get rid of that part. Now what have we got here? Winter. Now that holly is pretty nice. So, how, pray tell? Well, let's just get it past the winter part. And you know, you kind of, or at least I kind of get on a roll when I'm doing this. Just throw caution to the wind and cut, 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 cut. And of course, you know, don't be too critical of yourself. And oh my goodness, and I forgot to tell you what I just discovered. I'm going to check the time. That might have to wait for another video. Okay, so I'll just save this bit of holly. I think that walnut thing is kind of goofy, so we won't worry about that. Maybe we'll save the snowflake. And I think what I'll do, I'm just going to pick a place, cut it. But I think what would be nice on this is to, you know, fussy cut around this one leaf. So, but that's for another day. Okay, let's do this last thing. How are we doing for time? Oh, 45 minutes, yikes. Okay, does that hark? The dogs do bark. That's going to make it an awfully big. I think the dog has to go. We shall trim this down again to a more manageable size. At some point, will I regret where I cut it and think, oh, if only this was a 1/4 inch wider? Perhaps. We can't rule anything out. I think the pumpkin and his Peter and his whatever his wife's name is are going to be sacrificed. So I'm lining it up with the green, the darker green, the thicker green line. Okay, I'll just quickly tell you what occurred to me. I think sometimes, probably particularly as women, we are eager to do negative self-talk, to blame ourselves, to feel guilt, to, you know, sort of berate ourselves for not having been better, quicker, faster, kinder, smarter, thinner, whatever the thing is. You name it, we can, oh, let me save the dog. There's always a reason to feel bad if we want to, if we let ourselves. Maybe I'll try to save that stripe if I can. You probably can't see a darn thing here. I'm saving the dog. So, why, after having this book, this Mother Goose interactive book for, well, I would say 2 years for sure, why did I start cutting it up now? Why didn't I cut it up when I first got it? Why did I hang on to it? Why, you know, these are the, so if you want to get into that cycle of self-criticism and second guessing and so on, those are some of the things I could be asking myself. Well, why didn't I do it sooner? Why did I buy it in the first place if I didn't intend to get right on it and use it? Whoops. I'm just trying to sweep this into the garbage can as I talk. So, let me tell you, part of me believes that everything happens for a reason and everything happens in its own good time and exactly when it makes sense for it to happen. So you know, if you are a regular here, that for the longest time, like a good couple of weeks, well, more than that, I was going through my bookcases and I was looking at culling. Oh, here's my little toothpick splint. And so far it's holding. I put a little, Fabri-Tac in there and then stuck the toothpick in. And honestly, isn't that just like splinting a leg? this should hold together now for good. But I still have to find a better place to store this. Anyway, so all kinds of reasons to find fault with what I've done or haven't done. But yet, I am going to choose to believe that everything happened in exactly the right order. I'm just going to sort these things as I talk, from biggest to smallest. So, okay, the negative part could say, well, you know, if you would have taken this book apart when you first got it, you would have had all these beautiful pieces to use in those 3 baby books. And that's true. However, I was not lacking for any quantity or quality of stuff to use in the baby books. So that negates that little bit of harshness. By going through those books, and again, why did I choose to do that this summer? Well, I guess it's summer. Why did I choose to do it this summer instead of 2 summers ago? Or last winter? Or whatever? Who knows? Who does it, in the big picture, does it really matter? When I felt ready and compelled to do it, I did it. I worked tirelessly, and I did it. I didn't try to time the market, time the ebb and flow of the market, or are books more valuable now than they were a month ago? Do people have more or less disposable income than they had a month ago? Did I pick the right auctioneer? Did I, on and on and on. Did I pick the right starting bids? Well, I will tell you now that the sale results were disappointing. But I'm not going to beat myself up about it, because part of the process of the letting go was that, number one, I rediscovered some stuff that I'd forgotten I had. I was compelled to act on some stuff that, case in point, that I rediscovered I had. I made space, and I reinforced the lesson, probably among others, that it is far easier for any of us to buy than it is to sell. And that is a good lesson for me, and perhaps for you. I mean, you decide that for yourself. Because I think quite often we feel inclined to buy, and isn't that beautiful, and isn't that a great price? And everyone has 1 or 2 of those, so I need 1 or 2 of those. So there's no shortage of rationalization for why we need something, or we need more, or whatever. So attempting to sell something, the dust hasn't settled yet. I haven't, gotten the settlement or whatever. I will have a bunch of work and more decisions to make with the unsold items. What now, pray tell? I know that I did very well on some of the books, but some of them, there wasn't a whiff of interest. So that's the reality. So something that we feel in this moment is so precious and is so, oh my God, we're going to move heaven and earth to get 1 or 2 or 12 for ourselves. Chances are it's not going to be the gold mine that we think it is. There is a glut of stuff out there in the world. There are millions of people selling things. There are fewer people probably buying, and people have more difficulty paying or justifying those extras when the whole economic situation in the world is in flux. So, my revelation was that, number one, avoid self-criticism. Trust in the universe, in the higher power, in whatever it is that you believe in, that things are unfolding as they must when they must. And as I said, going through the books, there were blessings in that exercise. Today, or in the last few days, as I've been taking this book apart, this is a huge bit of work that has been accomplished. It has proven to me that in that particular case, that book was a good purchase, and I now have the means and the readiness, the preparedness to use it to its full advantage. You know, maybe that means putting together a Humpty Dumpty kit, not like a Mother Goose kit or something. And so rather than forcing ourselves, I could maybe show you this while I'm still talking. This is, one of those, the Real Mother Goose books, except this was a board book. So I got it, and at one point, and this was hard work for my cutter, I turned these guys into what will be, I guess, writing boards. So they are, okay, wait, let me line this up with some numbers so I don't have to count the squares. So 8 1/4 tall by 4 1/2. So I'll just flip these through some. I like when, I see they're not all the same height. I must have been trying to not decapitate anyone. So it's nice when the illustration and the entire verse is all on the same page, and that there's something, half reasonable at the back. So what I have decided for myself, somebody did some scribbling here, I should try erasing that. What I decided for myself is to not agonize as much over forcing things, making rigid to-do lists, feeling any sort of guilt whatsoever, but rather to trust my gut, to trust my intuition. Oh, this could be made narrower. So in other words, if I feel compelled to do something, trust the process, don't second guess it, go with the flow, and that leaving things undone is not a capital sin, subject to, imprisonment or heavy fines. It's just artificial pressure that we put on ourselves. So if I started my celebration of women journals, what is this now? Maybe the 3rd anniversary. And they are honestly so close to being done. Why is it I could spend precious brain cells trying to figure out why, or I can just go with whatever feels right in the moment. And I think, with any kind of change in behavior or mindset, it's easy to backslide. Anyone who's ever tried dieting or quitting smoking or quitting drinking or any other harmful, behavior, we know, or anyone who's ever set a New Year's resolution, knows how easy it is to backslide, to, revert. Supposedly, success experts, personal development people will tell you that allegedly it takes 21 days to embed a new habit. I don't know if I believe that, to be honest, but in this case, we're talking about changing one's thinking more than one's behavior, really, because it's an inside job. What we think to ourselves, what we think, and what we say to ourselves, and either the pat on the back we give ourselves or the criticism we level against ourselves. So I think my work is done here today. I even got the erasing done. Anyway, so what I want to leave you with, I don't know why this guy's sticking up more than everyone else. I could shave a bit more of that off. Anyway, what I want to just, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and I guess you do whatever you want to do. I am going to spend less time saying, I should spend more time in my glue book. I should do more mixed media. I should finish those Celebration of Women journals. I should. Instead, I'm going to just do whatever I want to. The other thing I tell myself I should be doing is making more digitals. Going through all my listings, whether they're on the Maker's Market or Etsy or Coffee, and rationalizing, do I need to be in all these places? What needs to be delisted? What needs to be reduced? What needs to be, what new things need to be listed? So there's no shortage of those kinds of things. But less shoulding and more going with the gut, I think, is what I have learned. So if you find that this little whatever this was helpful in your own thought processes and your own behavior, well, by all means, run with the idea. And if you wonder why I added 10 minutes to this video by sharing all that, well, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Anyway, guys, that is it for today. I hope that this has shown you that you can take a book from intact to, dozens and dozens of usable pieces in not that much time. And maybe in the process also find some prototypical kinds of things. I should put that near the top. That you can use with your own materials. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for sticking it out with me. I hope that that last bit that I added actually helps you in some way. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.